And last, and definitely least, we come to my series. Now, a couple of days ago, I was in a much better mood, and I was like, well, I wasn't in like a super much better mood, and I was like, well, I need to like last episode, I'll cover the big one. This one, I have one slot left. I'll probably need to use it for like I don't know, Tales of Wedding Rings, Kekkon Yubi wa Monogatari, or maybe some of the other one of the other like weird series, and then we'll write it off, right? And I was thinking, uh, but we do need to cover this one series that has been on everybody's minds, fortunately, but one that nobody uh, amongst the four of us wanted to cover. So,
I
uh,
refused.
Are you
I
talking
straight up,
about
I straight up
Spire?
refused.
Spire, what are you talking about? Ev- Everyone wanted to cover this one series.
yeah, everybody loves this series.
Wrong.
So, I took it upon myself to so Nier wouldn't jump off a bridge here. So I took it upon myself to cover probably the most hyped up non-sequel series of the season. I think I would say. I think people would say, for bad or for good,
Unfortunately,
right? Yeah, this is the most hyped up series of the season, and it is uh
Delusional Monthly Magazine.
Delusional Monthly Magazine. No, it is Solo Leveling, or also known in Japanese as Oredake Level Up Naken. It is not actually Japanese original. It is a Korean manhwa or web comic, I believe, rather original. Um, Manhwa is just a general term for comics in or animation stuff in yeah. So manhwa webcomic in Korea that was original that was turned into a an adaptation anime adaptation for this season. It was done by it was written what was it? It was written by author named Chugong, and art was done until I believe mid 2022 by a person named Dubu, who he did pass away in 2022. I don't know whether Chugong does the art solo now or what happens, but unfortunately he did pass away before the fruits of his labors, the anime created could be seen. Unfortunately, but yeah, this is a manhwa original, uh, produced the anime adapted produced by A1 Pictures as well as a bunch of other uh, subcontractors underneath them, KV Studio, Studio Recess, Centrus, I believe. And you can kind of see that in the general uh, Japanese cast. They have a couple connections. Nakashige Shunsuke, who is a veteran key animator, and he worked with a couple of A1 projects such as Attack on Titan and Cinderella Girls. But this is actually only his like second time doing a full, proper, like top level directorial role. His first was Mother of the Goddess Stormtori, also known as Megami Duo no Ryobukun. So this is actually his second series, and what a big series it is! Actually, going from Mother of the Goddess's Dormitory to Soul Lovely, so it's quite a change. But he is a veteran key animator in the industry, and alongside other veterans such as Kimura Noboru, who has good all around experience, but he kind of his specializations in a sense are between straight rom com and like mecha series such as like Anime, Gundam Build Drivers, stuff like that. There, obviously, other veterans, Sudo Tomoko, Okumura Yasuhiro, stuff like that, all just kind of coming in, chipping in. Probably drawn in from various other subcontinents as well, and music done by none other than Sawano Hiroyuki. If you don't know who he is, you should. I don't know what to say. You should go check him out. Um, so big cast, and obviously a lot of big names in terms of the voice acting cast as well. Ban Taito, Banjo Ging, sorry, yeah, Banjo Ginga or Ginga Banjo, Hirakawa Daisuke, Furukawa Makoto, Ueda Reina, what is it? Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Couple of like different names here. Mutsuki Eri here, Junichi Suabe. A decent number of names kind of pulled up in the voice acting cast, so pretty a decent amount of money went into here as well. And apparently, for some reason, and I'm not sure why this is, there are apparently two Japanese dub versions, one with the regular Korean names, and other one, and there's like another track with like um where the character names are said in Japanese for some reason. I don't know why that is, but apparently that's the thing.
Well, like they
Um,
renamed the characters?
yeah, they renamed the characters, but in Japanese, and that's also sometimes by part. I think there was some confusion apparently over some of the subs and stuff like that. Apparently, there are two tracks, so there are like
Huh.
mix-ups because there are like two dubs and two sub tracks like floating around, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" So a little bit unfortunate there. Um, Opening, ending, I'll go over real quickly. Opening is called Level by collaboration between Sao Hiroyuki and Tomorrow Together. Tomorrow Together is a K-pop boy band, I believe. Uh, the opening, if you listen to it, is very obvious that it is it is Sao Yuki trying to hide the fact that he's composing a K-pop boy band song as much as
Yeah.
possible, but he's like completely failing to hide it, and it's like, yeah, it's a K-pop song. It's like there's really not much to say about it. The ending theme is Kage by, or sorry, Request by Kage. Also very nondescript. Going over to the audio visuals really quick. There's nothing really to complain about per se. It's clear that a lot of money went into this. Like whoever was the production committee, whoever were the investors, and like kind of uh, or the companies surrounding it, and how the person proposing it managed to get through to the higher ups. Right? It's clear that they managed to get a lot of money, right? Funding money for this,
Of course.
and the details on the frames and anything involving action, and there is a lot of action, are all pretty good. Lots of frames, very smooth. Again, nothing to complain about. It's a, but it is essentially the classic sort of A1 straight adaptation on steroids, right? There's nothing groundbreaking about it. We're not seeing UFO table levels of the Sakugs, right? We're not seeing Orange Studios doing kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
pretty much A1 pictures, but at their best. Think about it like Sword Art Online or whatever, the other series where they got a shit ton of money, right? Think like Cinderella Girls opening insert songs, stuff like that. So um, I think the emphasis needs to be. I know there was this one weird like there were a couple comments flying around on the internet. There's like people are like, "Oh, why is the animation quality not up to snuff? This animation quality doesn't seem good." And it's like
Compared
you
to
have to
what?
temper your yeah,
Like, what are
exactly.
they
You have to
comparing
temper
it
your
to? You know what I
expectations.
mean?
They just like were expecting too much, I think, because they were like, "Shit, I just get a lot of money. This has to be the best. Like, this has to be Kimetsu no Yaiba and Attack on Titan combined into one." It's like that's not how this works, right? It's you can have a bunch of action and you can have a bunch of money, but if you have A1 running the stage, you're only gonna get it so much,
Yeah.
right? They're not innovators, to be fair. They're just people who
I mean,
manage to be
A1
very good
also
at their job.
usually doesn't bring in that many like contractors, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A1's not really um, they're not bringing in like
It's not like a Bleach episode where it's like JC staff plus a billion, right?
yeah, or they're not
uh,
gonna be like, oh, like regular like key animators that work for like Trigger or something. They're not
yeah,
really
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be contracting. They're kind of just gonna keep their core staff and they're gonna just work from that, right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do think it's a little bit, you have to temper your expectations going in. But as much as I do want to shit on this series, and I will later, I think it's hard to. I don't think it's a thing in terms of like criticizing the audio. It's clean. The BGM and the OST unfortunately is nondescript, and um, you know, yeah, Saona Hiroyuki, but I wasn't that. It wasn't very. And we were talking about this before the podcast, and as much as it might be heresy to say it in the anime community, I do think Hiroyuki Sano has kind of been, just packing it in and just kind of doing whatever for quite a while now for a lot of like the smaller series. Like obviously, if it's something like say working with Ado or Rayona or doing something for like what is it? Just like Fate or like what did he do recently? Right? It's like Fate or um fucking like Kingdom or like Bleach or something like that. Uh, Seven Deadly says, yeah, sure, like he'll pull it out, right? Attack on Titan, blah blah. But for a lot of these other series, I want to say Fanfare of Adolescence, right? Where he also, I believe, worked with a K-pop group. I forget what it was, which K-pop group it was. That one. Um. Oh yeah, he also did One Piece, so that was fine. But it's like for stuff like Fanfare of Adolescence, or for what is kind of the Great Snow Sea. Kind of the Great Snow Sea was okay, I think. It wasn't like that great, but it was okay. But Particle Rain, right? Fanfare of Adolescence, Particle
Yeah.
Rain, shit like this was not good. It was definitely much, much, much below what we expect from Sano Hiroyuki. And some people might be out there being like, "Oh, that's not fair. If it's like an okay BGM, if it's not a bad BGM, criticize." Well, we can't because the comparison were the reason why Hiroyuki keeps getting jobs. The reason why he's famous is that
I mean, he's a legend. Like he,
yeah, his OST is expected to be of a very high standard, and we're not comparing Sano Hiroyuki to any random motherfucker like who just shits out EDM music production company like movie trailer music, right? We're comparing Sano Hiroyuki to his work in Gundam Unicorn, his works in um Kill la Kill, his works in Fate, stuff like that. So, you can't be out here being like, well, just, it's okay if he just does pushes this shit out. I don't think it's okay, to be quite honest, and it is a little bit point. Um, Even though obviously this would be on on average BGM. But an average BGM is not what you hire Sano Hideyuki for. If that's what you wanted, you would hire literally anybody else. So it's a little bit of there. So that was that for the audiovisual. Going in, I'll make a quick description of this. Blah, 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 I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to read the mouse synopsis. But TLDR is you have this world, and monsters are coming out of this world, right? It's like a general like modern setting, right? Modern city setting. But monsters are coming out, but in exchange, people are awakening to these sorts of like superpowers. And the people who are awakening to these superpowers are called hunters, but they like the level of power that these super powers exhibit, right, are varying in degrees, right? Some people can have super strong powers or super strong specs, and some others have very weak specs and power. And so they're ranked according to that. Like some like superhumans who are like super powerful are called S rank hunters, and the weakest ones are named like D E rank. So our main character, Sang Jinwoo, is pretty much the weakest. Is an E rank hunter. He's fucking crap. Every time he has to go kill out monsters in a dungeon, he's like struggling. He's fighting for his life, and he has to use his brains, which the other party members and other people around him kind of marvel at because he's so like he has his survival instinct, so he's like always looking at the opponents and being all smart and shit, blah blah blah, stuff like that. He gets caught in an incident, everybody rocks fall, everybody dies, and he wakes up in the hospital and he finds out that he has gained this ability. He has gained essentially growth, right? He can level up his power, and the usual lore is that once hunters get their superhuman powers, they cannot level up anymore. They are born with the power that they are. It is done. but he and only he has a growth cheat, where he can level up his power through receiving these like in-game menus with like quests and stuff like that only he can see. So then he starts leveling up and all this crap, and that's pretty much like the gist. And 80% of uh, the series is mostly dungeon crawling and action sequences and him beating up monsters and him being like, I didn't know I was that powerful. I didn't know I could kill them in one hit and all that crap, right? It's a
Whoa,
very
I'm
standard.
like leveling up.
I only threw that knife very lightly, but I didn't know it would take out that goal.
Wait a
Like
minute,
shit like
I'm
that, you know?
leveling solo.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Whoa.
so it's very standard. It's a growth cheat power fantasy. It's a fantasy variant, obviously from like the monster stuff like that. Plus, there's like gore. There is a decent amount of gore. It's uh, like people getting beheaded, people getting chopped off by monsters, main
That makes
guy
it good,
killing
right?
people. So yeah. That's part of why it has an 8.4 on Mal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's awesome. You love to see it. People getting their heads chopped off. We have Huron next to him, right? The girl that liked him even when he was weak, right? All that crap. Um, the usual themes of like obviously you could kind of tell from the whole like ranking of the hunters, and everybody has their power, and nobody can level up or whatever except for him. It's like gonna be the usual themes of the strong looking down upon the weak and like high classes and kind of shit, right? And being
Yeah.
born into your circumstance, all that usual crap, right? That you usually find in these sorts of series. Uh, and obviously, again, also the theme of the main guy is the good guy, and he's like, I'm just trying to work hard. I'm just trying to have an honest, like, I'm trying to be just here. And everybody else around him is selfish and is like, oh, we're just out here to get fucking monsters and loot. Fuck you, blah, 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 blah. And it's about him just kind of trawling through that and finding the one or two trusty sidekick, crap like that. He has a game menu. He gets the quest. He levels up. Uh, 80% again, as I said, 80% of the relevant parts in the anime are just like gore and action scenes and like mini arc style dungeon crawling. But even in that case, like even in those relevant parts, it's not really special because it's like the action sequences are clean, but it's just as I said, it's good A1 pictures animation as opposed to something where you're looking at it and you're going, holy shit, this is pushing the limits of the animation industry, and like what it means to make an anime in terms of like history. You know what I mean? It's not like what Orange did. It's not like what Ufotable um is pushing with their sort of like animation quality, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where you're watching an anime and you're like, is this a movie that I'm watching? What's happening? It's not like that. It's just very good A1 pictures animation. And a lot of the other stuff is again very standard. Uh, the line that I mentioned before, where it was like, I didn't think a single attack from me would have defeated him, is essentially a line that he says almost word for word in the actual anime. So,
Damn.
um, what I want to ask is, oh yeah, also, there's too much like, there's too much gore fetish and shit like that in this series. This series already, like, for instance, the first two episodes are used almost solely just to play out a gory scene of the initial setup, which is, rocks fall, everybody dies, right? And all this time I'm thinking it's literally just that. It's just at least 1.5 episodes, almost 2 episodes of just people getting killed in the dungeon. And throughout those 2 episodes, I was thinking, I don't need to see
Why
that.
am I watching this?
Yeah, I don't need to see this because it's
Yeah.
not like there are some of the characters in there that say stuff that's like mildly, oh man, um, kind of help kick it back to his initial background, which is, oh, I am struggling. but like, why am I always the straggler? Why am I always getting fucked up? Stuff like that. There's like one or two lines in there, but the rest of it is just like them just getting quashed by the rocks. So, yes, there are one or two important lines in the entire two episodes, but no, I don't think I needed an entire two episodes to, experience that. You know what I mean? So, too much gore fest. I don't need that. And I just want to say, if I, for instance, change the names of these characters and change the numbers and like the composition in terms of like how many boys, how many girls, or like whatever, um, and, like jobs, stuff like that. If I change like the general like numbers and names of the people going through these dungeons, would this series be recognizable from any other standard Naruto power fantasy growth Chibi Isekai? And my answer,
No.
honestly, is no. Yeah, exactly. It's not. I'm just so confused. And it's really funny because if you look at the Mal reviews, a bunch of them are just like getting brain fucked at how this is like so popular and getting so much money. And they're like, I actually watched this series. I don't understand why it's so popular. So everybody like half of this
Because it
like
was one of the first. That's really the only reason, right? Like,
yeah. And people are like so I don't know. There's like a certain segment of the audience, of the anime audience, that's just like whenever they're spoon fed these battle mangas or battle manhwas, they're like, yes, inject into my veins right fucking now. Even if it's like the same because again, there's a difference between Dragon Ball where you can have those kinds of things, but it's like Dragon Ball is also the progenitor, right? Versus, all this other crap, right? And I think that contingent, that army of people who like watching or reading those battle mangas and just like seeing the head chop off and the guy being all cool, the main character being all cool and saying, no mercy, you. It's
I
like
leveled
the only,
up.
yeah, the only mercy you'll find is at the end of the sword, and the boom, the head guy getting the asshole gets his head chopped off, stuff like that, and the reader is like, that's what I want to do to my middle school teacher or whatever it is, right? Um, it's a very strong contingent, and um, I think they've been secretly pushing it. I don't want to say it's conspiracy. I think the secret silent army have been very good at pushing that, and I think the rest of us, not us necessarily, but it's like I think some of the other people that are not that part of that army are kind of in stun lock right now, being like, why is this so popular when it's so mid? When it's so mid. So it's a little bit unfortunate. So yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say about it. Most of the other episodes is just standard. Oh, I'm just trying to level up, man. Trying to live an honest life. Oh shit! I just lightly threw a knife at that monster and it exploded. How did I do that? And it's like, oh, you're the bad guy. Who you guys are just being selfish. You guys had no mercy for others, and now you want me to have mercy when I pwned all of you guys. And this very, very played out set of very played out set of tropes, right? I don't even. It's very hard for me to go on, and all I'll say, I guess the rest, all final really significant words I'll say about this series during this review is, and Dark, I think I want this to be a caption for the thumbnail of this series is this series is A1 at its best, manhwa at its worst. And I think that very aptly describes this series. I I don't know. I just think that even as like a battle manga, it's like barely worth opening your eyes to. And other than watching it for like the whole, oh wow, the weakest guy is growing into an S rank adventure and he's slashing the throat of the dragon. Unless you're watching it 100% for that, everything else is pretty much garbage. There's no other reason, zero other reason, watch or read this series other than, wow, she took the knife and he slashed the lightning black dragon through the fucking throat. There's zero reason, other reason to watch it. And again, A1 does a pretty decent job of providing those action scenes, but the moment the action settles, the moment the characters start spewing words, coherent human words out of their mouth holes after they are done killing the demon spiders, right? Everything kind of falls to shambles, which is unfortunate. Not unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that money that has been created in this economy, in this global economy, has to be funneled into a project like this. But it is what it is, right?
How do you
I
feel
don't.
about the relatively prevailing narrative that this is like this
Not
is
the anime,
this is like the
not the
shining
manga.
beacon and sort of base of Korean manhwa?
I don't. I, I think. How do I say this? There are two. I want to phrase this carefully because I don't want to kind of overgeneralize it, but there are some obvious trends. So Koreans, and I've said this before in general, are very, very, very sensitive to trend, and they are very good at immediately hopping upon trends and trying to capitalize upon them, right? So it's not necessarily that solo leveling paved the way per se. It's just that once solo leveling happened, once stuff like solo leveling and the other stuff happened, people and obviously a bunch of other isekai um, series that are not necessarily just solo leveling, right? Obviously, the wave of Chinese, excuse me, phone novels as that are like Thunder God of the Heavens or whatever, as well as Sword Art Online, they all started kind of happening within the same set of years, right? Uh, so I think that happened, and then a bunch of Korean people took notice of that and kind of just boom hopped on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
So it is not necessarily some sort of like inspirational base that really lifted everybody up. It's more just like something happened and enough people took notice and it was just like, oh, let's just fucking do that because there are eyeballs on that. And then they do it. It's like the same with how a bunch of um series these days on the Korean manhwa webcomic front is about this sort of uh distorted modern view, right? It's like not modern distorted. It's like a classic um anti-hero telling, like a Dirty Harry retelling of standard themes in standard societal, right? For instance, what is it? The Lookism or whatever that series is, right?
Yeah.
The one that's like the about the beauty standards. It's like that. There's like a couple of other like societal kind of shit like that too. There's the viral hit web comic, right? I think we covered that before in news where that's I think getting away from anime, if I
So
remember
yeah.
correctly, where it's like that's essentially Jake Paul, right? It's like the author was like saw Jake Paul and it's like we're gonna riff off that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so stuff like that, I think, is not like there were obviously series before it that kind of uh started I think helping to propagate it, but I don't know about calling it like some sort of like inspirational. Wow, this was like a base that like took manga and whatever stuff to like the next era and like help push it forward. It's more just like, yeah, this motherfucker got lucky, and then everybody kind of hopped on kind of thing going on. So, uh, uh, I would hesitate to call it a base. I think, and it is a little bit unfortunate. I kind of did prefer it a little bit more when I don't know whether I would prefer, but it's like I don't know whether I've had any specific like genre of Korean web comics that I've particularly liked. At best, I would rather just go with general mellow romance kind of series like Orange Marmalade, and you guys can date me on that because it is an older series. But other than that, I've just never had any appreciation for these, especially for these sorts of. I would rather have lookism and viral hit, to be honest, than whatever this crap is. No, even like Tower of God, I was okay with it, kind of, sort of, not really, like in the first couple of episodes, and then afterwards it was just like, ah, do I really have to continue reading this kind of bullshit on Tower of God? God of High School obviously is whatever. This thing is very whatever, and just all of these series where we make fun of China, Chinese web novels and phone novels going like Thunder God of the Empress Escort Heavens or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But really, Korean web novels are nowhere near any better, except for the setting being set mostly in city setting, urban setting. So it's pretty much the same. But yeah, there's not much else to say about it. It's really just crappy, and there's no reason to read it. There's no reason to watch it except for the very specific. Hey, I want to see this edgy dude who's gonna become the SS plus ranker, or hunter, whatever, by throw a knife at the fucking monster and cut it in half in one instance because he's become so strong. And then the girl who liked him before is hugging him now and being like, "You've grown so strong," all that crap.
It's basically like my
There's
real life.
Yeah, really? I live that every day. I don't need to watch it here, okay? um, there's not much to say about that, and I do think what I said before about this is A1 at its best and manhwa at its worst is very apt. And as for my Mal rating, fuck, fuck. Um,
9.
the issue is, yeah, 9 out of 10. The issue is this is such a lopsided. This is arguably the most lopsided series that I've ever watched in at least the last 5+ years, because the animation and stuff like that is quite decent, but everything else about it is at least mediocre to just bad. I think the last time I felt about something like this is like probably either Dog Days or Guilty Crown. Maybe Guilty Crown be the pinnacle of wow. the this Supercell is doing this fucking song. Wait a minute, this story is crap, kind of thing,
Wow,
right?
this sucks.
Yeah. Wait a minute, this fucking sucks. Um, but I would have to give it a 2. And the 2, none of the 2 comes from the story. The 2 is solely made up of the fact that A1 Pictures managed to uh animate it cleanly, and we have the battle sequence. Maybe not even that, maybe 1.5. 1.5, and every single iota of that 1.5 score comes from the fact that A1 Pictures managed to animate um, the battle scenes mostly smoothly, and the action scenes sequences mostly. Other than that, nothing about this series is redeemable. Nothing about this series is worth watching. It is a 1.5 out of 10, and I will stick to that until the fucking heat death of the universe. So yeah, that
See,
was.
this is why I made you do it, because I know you'd have the spicy hot take.
It's a really hot take. I feel like if any of us, except for you, Toast, reviewed this, it
I
would
think
probably
this
it
is
would probably be like a genuinely negative. Like,
I think this is a
I mean, I probably,
pretty
I
split.
honestly probably would have been even harsher, cause
Yeah,
like,
this is
cause
very split. I think on the internet because it's like it's split between the people who are like, "But I love watching this dude slice up the magic Hydra dragon with his plain knife because he's so
he
powerful."
leveled up. He's
Yeah,
leveling solo. Wow.
yeah. It's like split between those people and like the regular normal people. I want to say who are just like, yeah, I don't, bro. Kind of like that. It's like I
Yeah.
like Dragon Ball too, but I don't get it, bro. Kind of business. So we'll see. But what I
Also,
also, yeah, yeah. Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead, go keep ranting. You got another 10 minutes.
No, the only other thing I want to say was that there are some people who are saying something very, very, very deleterious, something very damaging potentially to the future of anime, which is people are like, this needs to succeed because if we don't have this succeed, we won't get the other great like Korean mono or whatever. I'm like, no, that is not a good habit
They said
to
that
do
about
not
Tower of God.
and about God of High School and stuff like
Yep.
that. Yeah. And I'm like, no, do not feed the fucking dog, like that. Uh, it's a very bad habit because no, the companies are not going to be like, oh, I mean, it's like the, you don't know what direction this is going to go in. Like, if you feed the companies the idea that this crappy series is gonna do well because it's a Korean manga, they'll just pick any fucking random Korean manga that looks vaguely like this one and just run with it, whether it's
Yeah.
even crappier than the last one. So you
Some
don't want to
fucking
feed that
battle.
habit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Series just like
battle
slop.
solo warrior crap.
Yeah.
It's like you don't want that to happen. So do not feed the dog like that. Do not give them ideas that any motherfucking mid ass battle manga manhwa on the streets can grow up to be a real boy or a real anime adaptation someday. Okay, do not do that. Sorry, Toast. What were you gonna say?
Anyway, you notice there was a theme this entire podcast.
What is it?
Every single series had to deal with death.
No.
Well, no.
What do you mean?
You said you didn't.
Dark reviewed a
Yeah.
shoujo fucking romance series.
Yeah, yeah, near. The thing is, that's deaf. Did you know that
Close enough to.
most Europeans can't pronounce the th? They pronounce it as f. So death becomes
What do you
deaf.
mean? What do you mean by most European? Because I'm pretty sure that's not true.
They have a lisp. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I mean, when Kiara can pronounce th, she says it like f.
Oh,
I
See,
right.
don't think that's
so that's
exactly how
I
that
forgot
works.
Kiara is like 90% of the European population, right? So
Oh my god. Anyways,
so yeah, deaf
yeah.
and death. Get it? It's a double allegory, just like
I
Kojima
don't think
with
that's how the
Death
I
Stranding
don't
2.
think that's how an
just like
allegory
life.
works.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut you off there. But anyways, thank you very much. Wait, who am I thanking? What the fuck? I just reviewed this. I just like wanted to get this out of the way so badly.
Bro's
I
giving
like
himself an
wanted.
award.
Yeah, no. It's like you know how some people or like in some like not dystopian, but like is some like edgier anime series. You have this like premise where um, the guy wakes up from it and he has amnesia, but it turns out that he was the one who gave himself amnesia to like forget the horrible shit that he went
Damn.
through. It's like that. It's like I hated to like I didn't want to remember this shit so badly that I just like blotted out
Yeah,
my
you're like,
memory right
oh
after I
man,
reviewed it.
I covered that. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
I should have remembered this. Why did I do that? Yeah. Anyways, that was Soul Leveling, aka Orudake Level Up Naken. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a bad series. Don't watch it. I don't say that about many series, but don't watch the series.